Hello, students! I know the biology exam is just around the corner, and it can feel a little stressful. But don't worry, in just the next few minutes, we are going to revise the entire Our Environment chapter together. So just relax and let's begin. So here's our simple plan. We will quickly go through all the essential concepts from this chapter, making sure you feel absolutely prepared and confident for your exam. Ready? Let's get started.
All right, first things first, let's talk about ecosystems. You see, to understand our environment, we really need to start with the basic building blocks.
So what exactly is an ecosystem? Well, it's quite simple. It's an area where all the living things, the organisms, interact with each other and also with their non-living surroundings. Think about a forest or a pond or even a small garden. They are all perfect examples of ecosystems. Now, this is very important for your exams. Every ecosystem has two main components. First, we have the biotic components. That's everything that is living, the plants, the animals, and all the tiny microorganisms. And then we have the abiotic components. These are the non-living things, like the temperature, the soil, the wind, and the rainfall. Both are essential for an ecosystem to work. Within the living or biotic world, every organism plays a specific role. You can think of it like they have jobs. Producers, like green plants, are the ones who make their own food. Then you have consumers, who get their energy by eating other organisms. And finally, the decomposers, like bacteria and fungi, act as the cleanup crew, breaking down all the dead matter. They are all connected and depend on each other. So you might be wondering, how are all these organisms connected? Well, it all comes down to food and the flow of energy. Let's trace this path by looking at food chains.
A food chain is the simplest way to see how energy moves. It's basically a straight line showing who eats whom. For example, grass is eaten by a goat, and then the goat might be eaten by a human. See, it's a direct path for energy to travel.
And each step in this food chain has a special name. It's called a trophic level. This is a key term you must remember. The producers, the plants, are always at the bottom. They are the first trophic level. The herbivores that eat them are the second. The carnivores that eat the herbivores are the third, and so it continues. But here's a really crucial point. Does all the energy from one level move to the next? No, it doesn't. And this is explained by the 10% law. It states that on average, only about 10% of the energy from one trophic level is actually passed on to the next. Most of the energy is lost. Okay, let's make this super simple with an example. Just imagine that the producers, let's say grass, have about 1,000 joules of energy from the sun. Now, according to the 10% law, when a primary consumer, like a deer, eats this grass, it will only get about 10% of that energy. So that's just 100 joules. And you can see where this is going, right? If a secondary consumer, maybe a tiger, eats that deer, it will only get 10% of that 100 joules, which is just 10 joules. See how quickly the energy is lost? And this is exactly why most food chains are quite short, usually just 3 or 4 levels. So another very important point to remember is that this flow of energy is a one-way street. It is unidirectional. The energy flows from the sun to the producers and then to the consumers. It can never, ever flow backward. The energy from the deer cannot go back to the grass. So we've seen how energy decreases as it goes up the food chain. But, there's something harmful that actually increases. Let's talk about the serious problem of biomagnification. This is a very important term, biological magnification. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It's when harmful chemicals that do not break down build up in concentration as they move from one trophic level to the next. So how does this actually happen? Well, picture this. Harmful chemicals like pesticides get into the soil and water. The plants absorb these chemicals. Then, as animals eat the plants and other animals eat them, these chemicals get passed along and become more and more concentrated. The unfortunate result is that the top consumers, which includes us humans, end up with the highest levels of these harmful chemicals in our bodies. All right, moving on from the food chain, let's talk about two other major ways we impact our environment, the ozone layer and the problem of waste management. Okay, let's talk about the ozone layer. Think of it like a giant, invisible sunscreen for our planet. It's a layer of ozone gas, O3, high up in the atmosphere that protects us from the sun's dangerous ultraviolet or UV radiation. But
Synthetic chemicals like CFCs, which were found in old refrigerators and aerosol cans, have damaged this layer. And this is serious, because more UV radiation can lead to problems like skin cancer.
Next up is waste, and this is a very, very common question in exams, so please pay attention. We have two main types of waste. First, there's biodegradable waste, like vegetable peels or paper, which can be broken down naturally. But then there's non-biodegradable waste, like plastics and glass, which cannot be broken down and just stay in the environment for hundreds of years, causing a lot of pollution.
So, what can we do? Well, the solution lies in proper waste disposal and remembering the 3 magical R's: reduce the amount of stuff we use, reuse things instead of throwing them away, and recycle materials to make new products.
Okay, we've revised all the main concepts from the chapter. Now for the final part. Let's talk about how you can actually write your answers to get full marks. Listen carefully, these points are very important. First, whenever you're asked about a term like ecosystem or biomagnification, always start with a clear definition. Second, use a simple example to support your point. Third, if you are asked to draw a diagram, make sure it is neat and clearly labeled. And a very common mistake students make, in a food chain, always use arrows to show the direction of energy flow.
And please do not forget to practice your diagrams. For this chapter, there are 3 you must know how to draw: a simple food chain, a food web, and the pyramid of energy. A well-drawn diagram can fetch you very good marks.
And that's it. We have covered all the important concepts. Remember, you know this material. Just revise well, stay calm and confident when you are writing the exam, and I am absolutely sure that you will do wonderfully. All the very best.